So this is a quick update about the protest that is ongoing in Nigeria. So the president actually gave a speech, a live broadcast on Sunday morning by 7 a.m., which I tuned into to actually see what he's going to say. He's going to address the matter about the protests, but actually he just came out to say what we've been hearing, which is what the ministers have been reading out to us about all his achievements and every other thing, and urging us to quit the protest and all that. That does not solve the problem. You are not hitting the nail on its head. You've not actually addressed the hunger issue. Everything you've been saying, everything you are just saying that more money has been made into the economy and all that, you devalue the naira. That's not it. Before I go on, please like and share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please it doesn't cost anything. Just click on the subscribe button so that we can make this a community. So like I was saying, even Professor Wole Soyinka, which is one of his great allies, have come out to say, no, bro, you didn't actually address this issue. You didn't address this issue. You didn't. And that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a very big problem for us. He just came out and read all his accomplishments and all the money has been disbursing and all that. That's not the issue. The issue is that the land is hungry. There's hunger in the land. Everybody's hungry. Everybody is hungry. You didn't say anything about the fuel, the reduction of fuel, which is the crux of the matter. The fuel is the crux of the matter. If the price of fuel goes down, you'll find out that every other thing follows suit. Everything starts going down. But fuel is very expensive. Some places 800, 900, 1,300 as the case may be, which is not how it should be. It's not how it should be. So I'm actually not even impressed. And also, what's it called? The speech leaked online and all that. In other climes, it do happen as well, from the information I gathered. But that's not it. You've not addressed the hunger. You've not addressed it. You didn't say anything about it. So this morning, there's a reaction on the morning show. So I'd just like us to just watch it together and see what their reaction is as well. But it's just crazy how things are spanning out in Nigeria. It's crazy. Let's go.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's Sunday morning broadcast in the way.
So please, like I said earlier, please like, share, and subscribe. I've not actually seen their reaction, so we'll be watching it together now.
Of the ongoing nationwide hardship protests has attracted reactions, both negative and positive, from Nigerians, but with many dismissing it as empty and largely evasive. The protests, which began August 1 and billed to last for 10 days, have resulted in violence in some parts of the country and loss of lives. Omo Azwaye in this report takes a look at the president's speech and some of the takeaways for Nigerians.
My fellow Nigerians, I speak to you today with a heavy heart and sense of responsibility.
After days of nationwide protests against rising cost of living in the country,
to even make things worse right now, this protest is taking a different turn in the north, and now Russian flag is being raised up by these northerners, which is not a good thing. That's how it started in some African countries, and right now there's a coup there, which is not something we even want in Nigeria right now, because the economy is bad. Anything that will take us down that line, we can't recuperate very well. So I just wish they do the needful. Some of these policies, he has to just revert them and just keep them the way they are, so that people can actually feed and all that. But let's just go on. Let me not just bore you.
US President Bola Tinubu, with a heavy heart, is forced to address a distressed nation. On the protests that has turned violent in many parts of the country, President Tinubu, in a 38-paragraph speech delivered in 23 minutes, called on the protesters to immediately end their protest and embrace dialogue to address their demands.
I hereby enjoin protesters and the organizers to suspend any further protest and create room for dialogue, which I have always acceded to at the slightest opportunity.
The president laments the violence and the avoidable loss of lives and destruction of property in the wake of the protests, stressing that as president he cannot stand idly by and allow a few with clear political agenda tear the country apart.
I am especially pained by the loss of lives in Borno, Jigawa, Kano, Kaduna, and other states, the destruction of facilities in some states, and the wanton looting of supermarkets and shops, contrary to the promise of protest organizers.
Tinubus said his vision for Nigeria is one of prosperity, even as he noted that over the years, Nigeria's economy has been badly mismanaged, stunting growth. Tinubus explained that the comatose economic situation he met on ground informed the painful decision to remove fuel subsidies and abolish multiple foreign exchange systems to save more money to spend on Nigerians.
These actions block the greedy and the profit that smugglers and rent seekers made. They also blocked the undue subsidy we had extended to our neighboring countries to the detriment of our people, rendering our economy prostrate.
According to Tinubus, Nigeria has made significant strides in rebuilding the economy, enumerating some of his administration's achievements in the last 1 year and 2 months. They include 570 billion naira released to states to support Nigerians, 50 billion naira approved for student loan, 200 billion naira for consumer credit cooperation for youths, $620 million for digital and creative enterprise for youth, and 75,000 Nigerians to receive 1 million micro and
Sorry, it looks as if I'm going to be reacting to this as it goes by. Most of these things that they are writing out, or most of these achievements for the last 1 year and 2 months, they are not being felt by the people. And their PR are doing a very bad job. They are not actually saying this so that people will know, okay, look at what is happening in our place, look at the kind of money that's been disbursed and all that. When people don't know this, they don't even know how to go about it. They don't even know how to assess all these things. And it's just there on the papers. And you say we did this, but if it's not felt, there's no how people can actually want to revolt. If it is felt, they will know, okay, yeah, look at, then no protest. But these things are not felt, and it's not right. It is not right. People are actually very, very hungry. People are hungry. There's hunger in the land. Nobody can actually dispute it. Not even the ruling party can even dispute the fact that there is hunger in the land. Let's go on.
small business single-digit interest loan, as well as 1 billion naira each to large manufacturers under single-digit interest loan. They also include 10 micro, small, medium enterprise hubs built, creating 240,000 jobs. Others are 70,000 naira minimum wage for workers. Government revenue hitting over 9.1 trillion naira in first half of 2024. Even as
when you're talking about this what's it called, minimum wage, it's even poorer than when we were even receiving 30,000 naira during Goodluck Jonathan's time. If you check, if you convert it, if you look at the exchange rates, it's even poor. It's way poor. So it doesn't mean anything. You can't even buy a bag of rice for a common man. Bag of rice right now in Nigeria is up to 85,000 naira, depending on the kind of the species of rice, or will I say the particular brand of rice you want to eat. So what are we saying? What are we saying? Let's go.
oil production increased to 1.61 million barrels per day.
We have come this far, coming from a place where our country spent 97% of all our revenue on debt service. We have been able to reduce that to 68% in the last 13 months. We have also cleared legitimate outstanding foreign exchange obligations of about 5 billion without any adverse impact on our programs.
The president also used the moment to draw attention to his development plans, starting with the 1,000 housing units of Renewed Hope Estate to be built in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. Another 100,000 units of housing to be delivered in 3 years, as well as to cultivate 10 million hectares of land, and the removal of tariff and import duties on rice, maize, wheat, and pharmaceutical as well as medical supplies for 6 months, among others. At the end of his speech, Tinubu told the protesters that he has heard their cry loud and clear and that he understands the pain and frustration that drives the protest, even as he appeals to them to shun violence and join hands with him to build a better future for Nigeria. Omo Bazwai, Rise News.
Thank you, Omo, for that report and just giving a breakdown for those who didn't have the opportunity to watch live and the replay throughout yesterday on the rise of the president's speech. Rufai, 4 days later, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has given a speech. Was that a speech that was worth the wait, or did you expect?
Just look at the way Rufai is. Folded his arm and he was looking at Ayo. Make I laugh small, very good. Let's go on.
Something more.
In the end, I wish he didn't even speak. Because if he didn't speak, it would have been way better than what he had said yesterday. And I think with due respect, it's obvious now this speeches thing do not work. The president, we need a real interview. I don't know if he's done any, you can tell me, you watching. But I think we need real interview where we can really discuss policies and discuss outcomes. Because it was just a speech with a lot of rhetoric, no outcomes. And a lot of things that you can easily fact check. Take for instance, he talked about, they made revenue of about 9.1 trillion, better than 2023. But also there's a story making the round that our revenue targets from from January to March, we miss our revenue targets. They're constantly reaching revenue target. That's why the budget deficit keeps increasing. So when you're celebrating that you made 9.1 trillion and you're missing revenue targets and your deficit keeps increasing and you're showing up with a lot of borrowing. He talked about CNG. Where's the CNG buses? What has he done? 2022, Timothy Receiver was talking about 5 million target CNG conversion kits. He's talking about 1 million now. We've not even talked about the sustainability of how to get the CNG stations. Also, he talked about 70,000 minimum wage, which we all now see that is the lowest in our history. 40 years ago, the minimum wage was well over $215, like we calculated the other day, Dr. Abati. 40 years ago, 125 naira, $215. Today, minimum wage is $47. What did he say he did again? He said agricultural cultivation. He wants to do 10 million hectares. The 500,000 hectares he promised last year, where's the results? If he promised 500,000 hectares, why do we have over 40% food inflation? Do you know what the food inflation is in Kenya that is causing all the riots? It's 7%. Nigeria is over 40%. He couldn't deliver on 500,000 hectares. We have not seen all the food he says he cultivated. Now he's talking 10 million hectares. Have we fixed the security on the land? So there are many things that's why we want to interact with him, so we can know his policy positions. It's not written speeches, it's what he wants to say. Let's even see how he understands the policies. It's not too much to ask from a president.
We discussed this same subject exhaustively, I think, yesterday on this like the Sunday talk show, the other program, that I appear in. And some of the things that we said was that, there are key takeaways in this speech. Number one, the president tried to show empathy, commiserate with people, say they should, call off the strike. Number two, he wants protesters to eschew ethnic bigotry that we have seen at Lagospedia, here in Lagos, where they are saying Igbos should leave Lagos. The president also said those who have been using this for opportunism to heat up the polity will be punished. The law will catch up with them. He outlined various programs that he has done for the youth in the last 1 year. But beyond that, he talked about economic reforms and the gains of his economic reforms, debt service reduction, CNG initiative, opportunities for the manufacturing sector, and all of that. People can argue with that and say, they don't believe what he's saying. And then, of course, he asked people to suspend the protests. And he called for dialogue with the youths, that the government is prepared to dialogue with the people. I think at paragraph 31, he said, I've heard you loud and clear, and this is a listening government. We're prepared to listen. Now, in the course of our discussions yesterday, Professor Killer, Anthony Killer, I think tried to explain what a presidential speech should be about and his own assessment. He talked about delivery. He said, with regard to delivery, he didn't think anybody expects that Tinubu is an orator. In terms of, content, he thinks that the speech was well written. Okay? In terms of context, he thought, in fact, what the president did not say is probably more important than what he said. And then, of course, impact. He said in terms of impact, that's for people to determine. And it is in terms of impact that Nigerians have been divided. Some have praised the president, like Festus Keyamo, who says it was a balanced presentation. Well, what do you expect Festus Keyamo to say? But there are people who have also criticized his speech. Omoyele Sowore says it is beautiful nonsense. Professor Wole Soyinka Nobel laureate says that speech should have addressed how Nigerian policemen turned violence into an instrument for state negotiation. And there are many people who hold that view. And he thinks that the president should have condemned the police. And then you have people, other people who say, well, this is beautiful nonsense. I think that's Omoyele Sowore. But on the whole, I think that the biggest concern of Nigerians is that in the whole of that speech, President Tinubu did not respond directly to the demands of the protesters. The protesters had specific demands. Instead, he was listing his achievements and making promises. If I had taken a look at that speech, I did that, approving signing off from presidential speeches for 4 years, I would have constructed it differently. There would have been another day to talk about achievements. He could have appealed to Nigerians. He could even have set up a committee to say we are addressing this demand, that demand. But in any case, the people in Ojota, they called off their strike, and they say that there will be no more protests. Maybe in that regard, there was some impact at Ojota, Lagos.
Maybe it was just because they felt like this isn't even working. The idea of protest, as Malala Yousafzai put it, is that it's the voice of the voiceless. When people, especially citizens, feel like they're not being heard, then they then take the route of protest. As we've often said, not many people would want to take the route of protest, but when people are pushed to the wall and feel like that's the only option left, then they protest. So it then brings the question as to why then was there a massive call for a speech, an address by the president? It wasn't just because we wanted to hear his voice or see his face or check how he's doing. There were reasons for that, because we were like, oh, why should he speak? What is the point of doing that? The idea is that when people come out to protest because they feel that their voices are not being heard, and to get a response from their leader, then it is important that the main thrust of that speech should be to address why he came. So if you're looking at the purpose of a thing, then unfortunately you would then be able to deem that speech as a fail. Unfortunately, in terms of F9, by the way, I hear that there's still protests in Ojota, so they haven't completely called off the protest. They had said 10 days, and so this is just day 5, and we'll see just how deep the impact was. Now, going back to my thoughts in terms of the fact that if the purpose of the speech was to address the concerns of the people who felt that their voices were not heard, in fact, it almost seems as if their voices were non-existent. If you look at the detail of the speech, let me say, in terms of how he started very strong, but unfortunately, as he proceeded, it kept falling and falling and falling until the numbers went flat in terms of the grade for that speech. He could have done a lot better. This was the moment to redeem, even though he had missed the chance when he ought to have come out to speak before the protest started. No president wants any life of his citizens lost. Not one. Every single Nigerian life matters. So if a leader can prevent a life from being lost, one life, then he would take all the options available to him. Part of that option was perhaps to come to the people to speak and then open up the channels for dialogue and set timelines and actual milestones as to what he hopes to do in the next few weeks, next few months, to at least even assuage the agitations of the people. I don't think that was clear cut out in that speech, and that's quite unfortunate. I'll take my last point here. We can take a leaf from both Kenya and what's happening in the UK, and I say this with regards to ethnic baiting and bigotry. I thought he could have come out with a harder stance on that. If you listen to the Home Secretary of the United Kingdom, Eva Cooper, she mentioned so many times, we will not take this, we will not protect our people, and there's no room for that. But I mean, there's no time to go on. I wanted to speak a bit more in terms of just breaking it down. The youths want their president to listen to them, not just to speak. And I hope the president to demonstrate that he is a listening president, not just to, not just for the optics.
So you've heard it from the Arise anchors. It's just crazy that he didn't listen. He never listened. In fact, he's not hearing us. It's like Buhari, his ears are blocked. I don't know. So you've heard it from them. So please like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe. It's just for you to hit on the subscribe button, and that's all. Please, let's make this a community. Cheers. See you guys. Bye.